Hello and welcome to our dialogue today on Jamaica 2030, families, neighborhoods, and communities, that is sustainable communities. This is a knowledge exchange, and I'm really pleased. At the center of this dialogue today will be Professor Alam Ahmed, who's the president of the World Association for Sustainable Development. And our overall theme is acceleration towards SDGs 2030 and the importance of systemic collaboration amongst academic researchers and sustainable self-effort economic development within neighborhoods and local communities. Our case study, and we do have members from the St. Thomas Cultural Heritage Steering Group, will be on Llandewey, St. Thomas in Jamaica, which we now call the Llandewey St. Thomas Jamaica Model. And this is supported by the Windrush Anchor Heritage Education Program. So good day, Professor Ahmed. I hope all is well.
Thank you very much, Rudy. Yes, very nice to see you, Rudy, and all your audience here. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. So I'd now like to hand over to you for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much again, Rudy. It's always a pleasure to meet you. You are one of the people I always say it's very difficult to say no to. I didn't know this is going to be a very tough presentation, but I tried my best. But first of all, I commend you on the great work you have been doing. I've been following you. I know you for many, many years. You are one of the examples we always give in the diaspora, people who contributed back home. Just wanted to make sure you can you all see my slides.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
You can just.
So I'm ready to start. I can go ahead, right?
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure what happened.
We just lost your slide then.
You lost the slides. Okay. Let's share again.
All right, so you just need the full slide now.
Yeah. Are we okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so quickly, because of the time, I need to speed up. I'm going to talk about collaboration among academics and researchers to help accelerate the implementation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And this has become a very urgent issue because when we went to Geneva last month, the concept note for our conference, the 22nd conference, was written by a very senior retired diplomat. And this is the main word now used by the UN is accelerate, because the finishing line is 2030, which is all less than 6 years. But everyone in the UN system will tell you it doesn't look great. We're going to reach or to achieve the 2030. So quickly, I will give you an introduction about WAST. And very importantly, I think I have to explain few issues to do with the concept of sustainable development, so we all understand it. We have an even equal platform in understanding what we are talking about, and then the UN agenda, and then how academics can play a significant role. The Director General herself, Dr. Tatiana, said that. She emphasized that on the 22nd of July last month. And then how can we all globally accelerate? Now, I start by one of our founders, because she is from the Caribbean. She knows, I wish she is joining us now from San Martin in the Caribbean now. Dr. Gail said this about us a long time ago. She said, WAS can be credited alongside agencies that champion the merits of sustainable development and the urgency and necessity to pursue holistic strategies. And that's why WSD was created more than 20 years ago. We wanted to have this holistic approach and strategies, because without a holistic approach, you will not achieve sustainable development. Will facilitate the enhancement of the human condition. I really like that way. I hope, Gail, you are watching us. And she then emphasized about the role of ICT. So this is a big short summary from the Caribbean. And I had the pleasure, or Dr. Gail with her Prime Minister, they hosted our 2010 conference in St. Lucia. Brilliant. I would love to go back again to the Caribbean. Generally, quickly, we do a lot of things: global conferences, teaching and learning. We have debates and seminars, published book, refereed journals, development projects, online library, expert directory. We run a lot of big interviews. We have a youth engagement program. So there's a lot of things we do. But I am very pleased to say that we've been working very closely with the United Nations. I know this picture is slightly old, but we've been invited 2018, 19, and just last month we were in the UN. So we are engaged with those key players. We also engage with government. The picture in the middle is the Kingdom of Bahrain when we went there twice. But I'm not going to talk about all of them. There's plenty of information of our website, but generally speaking, two particular projects, I'm very proud of them, is the women empowerment and the youth engagement. In the women empowerment, WAS is very keen to involve all women from across the world, all women from across the world in our various women empowerment and leadership initiatives. We would like to engage all women. We keep repeating this word. This is a screenshot from 50 women. You can see from just looking at them, the diversity and inclusivity of what we have achieved, I think, so far. Fascinating talk, top presentation last month by one of the world top surgeons. I wouldn't say top British surgeon, but she's a world top surgeon, the first urogynecologist in University College London. She gave fantastic talk available in the website called No Women, No SDGs. She said that at the UN just last month. If you don't engage women, you're not going to achieve sustainable development. We've been involved in this for every year. We celebrate the United Nations Women Day and so on. Quickly, we also involved with women. This is in Sudan. The Sudan hosts two important chairs, in my opinion. Sudan, I know is a country and in war now. We really hope every day that tomorrow will be a peace day. But Sudan hosts two of the United Nations UNESCO chair, very important. One of them is Women in Science and Technology, and another chair is technology transfer, UNESCO chair for technology transfer. These are two important, yet they are based in Sudan, but they are global. Now, youth program or youth engagement, we are very pleased to be engaged in this process. And this is just this is 2018. Lena was 8 years old when her head teacher suggested she will go and speak. And also when we went this last month, Pakistan, I didn't know about this until they came. The Pakistan government, the Prime Minister, he created something called Youth Engagement Program. It's interesting to see how government are taking the issue of engaging the young generation seriously. This is a screenshot from one of our conferences. These are all undersecretaries. These are the top diplomat, European, Minister of Spain, and you can see Gail on the right there, and you can see that child sitting there. So we managed to bring these 8 years children to the top table in the United Nations. And I think I'm very proud of this, and I hope this will be the situation every year. Now, fantastic, again, well-known Caribbean here. I'm sure most of the people in the UK and across the world, they know him. But we also have another element. We are very proud to integrate this and always get Jeff Thompson to be involved with us, Sport for Development and Peace, empowering young people in the delivery of the SDGs. So you can see the dialogue is changing, and I'm very pleased to see that dialogue is changing. Now, quickly to remind myself, everyone, this is a slide been going with me, I think, more than 20 years. 20 years, I always remind people, anytime I do a talk, I will say to them, this world we live in went through 3 revolutions. The first one is industrialization. So the fact entire Africa has not done much, or maybe only 2 or 3% in industrialization, that doesn't mean, oh, this is a new revolution we're going to witness. No, Germany went through this very long time ago, America, UK. But that revolution we all went through. Good news from Morocco, one of the largest car producer now in the world, it is going to be Morocco. So things are happening, but we need to remind ourselves. The next revolution we all went through is information. And the third revolution we went through is globalization. And the good thing to demonstrate globalization was COVID-19. Now we are in a global, we are together. So the reason I'm introducing this, because when we go to sustainable development, we need to remind ourselves, we are in a global world. We are in a global environment. St. Lucia, Jamaica, Sudan, Gaza, Australia, New Zealand, we are into this together. And it cannot be solved without us working together. Now, understanding sustainable development based on what I've just said takes me back to 1987, because in academia, or for me and all other academia, this is a well-cited report, which people call it Brundtland report because of the name of the Prime Minister of Norway, who was the chair of the United Nations major report on sustainable development called Our Common Future. You can see the UN is talking at 87. Many years ago, it's our common. We all together, people here in the live, everyone watching us, we are into this together. It took maybe almost 20 years for people to understand we are into this together. But more interestingly, I always bring this slide to show people this is the most important report the United Nations have ever produced. This is #1 report for the United Nations across the whole world. But that report, people in the developing countries which have not really achieved much of the sustainable development, they can remind themselves, the vice president of that report was the Sudanese. So Africa was there, Sudan, Algeria, and so on. Rahmatullah, he died. Dr. Mansour Khalid is even some people within the UN corridor, they tell you he was the mastermind behind this report. So Africa was represented. Arab countries like Saudi Arabia was there. Oman hosted some of the engineering roundtable. Zimbabwe, Hungary, China, Colombia, India. So the representative of those countries, they were there. They were the committee which made this report. But the important thing about this report, we should do whatever we want to do on this planet, but remember to keep something for our young generation. As simple as that. If you want to have 4 mobile phones, think about, can you make 4 mobile phones for your daughter or granddaughter? That's the bottom line. Quickly, important point I need to remind everyone, sustainable development is not about the environment. We've been saying this for many years. Finally, I think everyone accepted that. It's not a CO2. It's not just climate change. It's about everything in what we do. Throwing a plastic bag is not just about the environment, but about behavior. Solving that will not be technology, it will be behavior. You treat your child from as young age not to throw plastic bag, educate him or her why. Sustainable development is not a foreign aid. It's not, oh, we are in crisis. America or US aid or OECD is going to give us money. It's not about that. Sustainable development is not about developing countries. It's also about developed countries. We've been to Australia a couple of times and they told us you have to make your shower 5 minutes because we don't have enough water during summer. You have seen the fire. If you remember those from this country here, they remember when Gordon Brown was the Prime Minister, we had a flooding in Gloucestershire area where there was no electricity for 2 days and the Prime Minister had to fly to see people. So it is not an issue for developing countries. It's not for Jamaica. It's not for Sudan. It's not for developing countries. It's for everyone. Number 3, no one can do it alone. And the most important point here, heterogeneity. We need to understand these countries are not the same. Each one is unique and diversity of country. We need to understand Jamaica is different from UK. UK is different from New Zealand and so on. This is the 5 important things. But the new statement we have started, so we have been reminding people again over the last 10 to 12 years, children, our daughters, our granddaughters, our grandsons, whom we are doing everything for them, we ask schools now for many years to remind them. And we ask parents to remind your children, they need to learn to take responsibility, because when I only received my first mobile phone after I graduated from the university. Now my daughter touched a mobile phone and start playing with it. Although me and my wife, we say 4 years, but I have read some report, kids as early as 2 years, they do use mobile phone. So therefore, we need to tell them, kids, you need to be responsible because you are using a device which didn't exist at the time we were talking about sustainable development, and it is hugely can be positive or negative on achieving sustainable development. So I want you all to remind kids they have a responsibility because now we are in a different world. Quickly, this idea of sustainable development started a long time ago with the Brundtland Report, then the Millennium Development Goals, and UN declared it 20,000, and then the World Bank, and then we came, Kofi Annan in South Africa said, okay, let's do the WAHEP initiative. Let's focus on only 5 issues, energy, health, blah, blah, blah. I need to move quickly. The question here, when the Millennium Development Goal came, Steve Wonder came out and he said to them, guys, use the academics. You came with these all figures. By 2015, 50% of women should go to schools in whatever country across the whole world. And you said about this percentage and figures. Have you asked yourself the numbers you have given out, dear United Nations academics? Did you count the people with disability? Believe it or not, that came very loud and clear from Steve Wonder saying to people, did you really count the people in disability, or you just say a figure of 10? I believe, all of you believe, like what started yesterday in France, we all together, we are all the same. But clearly, like what you have watched last night in the BBC, I can go outside my house, I take the train quickly. Other people, they need time to take that train because either they can't see the train in front of them, they are using supporting sticks, or they are disabled, they're using wheelchair and so on. What we need to do to make sure we're minimizing the time they spend more than us by enabling them. Example, yesterday, the lady said the metro in France, I think is going to be given around 20 million euro to make it accessible to everyone. And she said that will take 3 years. So you can see what Steve Wonder said many years ago. We still counting people on a different playgrounds. So we need to be also careful. So I want you all to remember that these numbers, they need to also count everyone. Quickly, the UN came on 2015. They said, now, okay, now we have to include people with disability. We have to be more considerate. We went to the academics, and the academic came with much better formula of how we all going to achieve our common future. And it is 17 Sustainable Development Goals, poverty, zero hunger, all of them. I wouldn't spend time here because of the time. There's plenty of good videos material on the UN site. And they said there are targets and indicators to measure the progress, like the question Rudy asked me. Now, to tackle the question Rudy asked me, I want to make sure you all here, not necessarily in a business school, this is what we teach the students in year 1. Every organization, a hospital, a charity, British Airways, Tesco, it is an organization with 4 pillars: group of people, bundle of resources, and economic actor. The one on the left is very important, which came to the textbook back in the 80s, particularly from the Japanese. We need to understand every organization to achieve its goal, it has to have an accumulation of knowledge and learning. What we are doing here is both accumulation of knowledge and learning. And the fact is this life, that means more knowledge, more sharing is going, and then it will be. So this is the platform where you can start think about how countries organization, the organization level can achieve. Another element also documented by the World Bank, knowledge has been confirmed by academics and international organizations like the UN, World Bank Institute, Knowledge Institute, and so on. It is the key factor for achieving sustainable development. That's why this country, you can see, education, 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 as Tony Blair said it many times. Despite we are an advanced country, it's still education, education, education. This graph is from the UN. Long time ago, World Bank, they compare the progress of African countries compared with the Asian. Korea was an example with Ghana. And they said 1958, both of them have the same GDP, which is a gross domestic product, which is a measurement for the economy, how good it is. And they compare it with 1990, and the gap was only being the scientists, academics attribute that gap only to knowledge. So this is another thing you need to take it. Now, without knowledge, you cannot achieve sustainable development. Now, quickly, the World Bank came, then according to that research, they said we have to make sure we focus on what we call it knowledge economy. And the knowledge economy got 4 pillars: information and communication technology, innovation, education, and economic and institutional regimes. ICT, you all know what is ICT: mobile phone, computer, blah, blah, blah. Innovation is a very broad term. Included in the innovation is the university. The universities are included under the innovation. When we say education, we are not talking about universities. We are talking about primary schools, kids, because this is where we need to build them. So that can tell you how important is education in the primary school. And then we go to the economic and institutional regime, which is how attractive the country will be for investors and so on and so forth. Quickly, this is documented. Our famous work in this area is knowledge management and sustainable development in 2007 in Australia, in Brisbane. And then we went further and we have done a lot of work for the government of United Arab Emirates. And we had this book available documenting the transformation of a major oil producing country to knowledge, which is now followed by Kuwait, by Saudi Arabia and others. All these people who they have the oil, they are running away from it because they now convinced UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all of them, they know this is not the future. So this is all documented. Now, this is the British government definition of knowledge management. And this is really the definition. We try to encourage all universities to take it as a platform for understanding their contribution to sustainable development. The government here is saying knowledge management is being viewed as building organization intelligence. By what? By enabling people. People is you, me, the surgeon, the nurse, the cleaner, the driver, everyone. We need to build organization intelligence by enabling everyone in the organizations to improve the way he or she is doing the following activities: capturing knowledge, sharing knowledge, using knowledge, and anything attributed or relating to managing the way the knowledge and information is flown through the organization. People capture knowledge, they share knowledge, and they're using knowledge. So we need to make sure we enable people to improve the way they do these things. It involves using, that's why back in 2014, I think, or 13, most universities, I remember at that time, I was at Sussex University, they started to integrate YouTube because there's a lot of learning in the YouTube into the learning material for the students. So in the classroom, you can show them a video to illustrate any particular issue because we need to improve the way people capture, share, and so on. It involves using the ideas and experience, and this is very important, ideas and experience of employees, customers, and suppliers to improve the organization performance. Building on what work well leads to better practice. Quickly, because of the time, 1992, very long time, sorry, 1999, the UNESCO reminded us, the whole world, and this is still a big problem, we need to be very careful. This is 25 years ago. He said in his famous speech, Sagasti said, there is a real risk of two civilizations. One, producing knowledge, and therefore they can enjoy using it in any way and changing it, adapting it, embed it in whatever system, and those who are becoming more of waiting passively to receive knowledge. If you don't produce the knowledge, you will be deprived from the opportunity to improve it, to change it, and so on. That is unfortunately still the case. That UNESCO talk is still the case. Now, quickly, we engage with the UN, and I'm very pleased the UN found WSD quite useful for them. We engage with them in connecting the research, the academic, to feed into the reports produced by the UN. And the UN, in their own word, they said this is the first time the United Nations consulted 56 academics in a major report, which was research. They said the governments of all countries, they have to do research, to apply research or to apply policy research in what they do. And this policy research simply means they have to listen to the academics in terms of engaging with them. Quickly, this is a report available online. We're very proud to have done this. We brought all the academia. So the collaboration of academia here, as Ruud is one of the questions, we did from 2018 start collaborating with the UN. You can see here the list of academics Queen Mary, University of London, University of East London, University of Oxford, Wisconsin in the US, Utah, California from the US, Stockton from the US, Suffolk from the UK, Coventry, Arab Urban Development Institute, Robert Gordon, Oxford Brookes, Muhammad, the fifth university in Morocco, and so on and so forth. Cameroon we have, and so on. This is how we started bringing them global viewpoint, not just a British point of view. The second engagement was critical after COVID. The UN, they jumped quickly to try to write a report about how people can deal with learning or policy and platform in support of learning. Suddenly people are shocked. They want to use Zoom like what we're using now. So we also helped by creating 2 workshops in London to help that. So quickly, the UN engagement has been very successful. We managed to bring our voice across. This is at the United Nations Development Program in Sudan. Was also managed to break through to go to countries. We have a dedicated project for Sudan, more or less the projects I know Rudy has been doing for many years for the Caribbean. Even I know people like Rudy, they have even managed to transfer ambulance cars and lots of medical equipment. So we thought to the UN, we can also give our help. Quickly, international collaborations, we've been scattered everywhere. We try to go everywhere in America, we went to St. Lucia, Australia, Sudan, every place. Quickly, on the top left, this is Professor Farida Fortune, our director in Queen Mary. In the middle is the president of the Association of African Universities. On the right is Jordan. We signed lots of MOUs with universities. Down is the Asian consortium led by University of Erlangga in Indonesia. This is at the embassy here with the minister, and so on. On the left is the UNESCO chair on science and technology. So women in science and technology in Sudan. So we've been engaging. And this is other pictures you can see, a lot of them on our website. We also engage with United Nations or Arab League or African League. This is the Arab Industrial Development Organization. We engage with them all the time, many of them. Quickly, what academics need to do to answer Rudy's question. This is from Jamaica, and I know people from Jamaica I don't know whether they have heard about this story I'm going to tell or not. This is the beauty of academics collaborating. Now, if I see the picture, yes. In 2014, we have been asked at the Middle Eastern Knowledge Economy Institute in Brighton to train senior police officers from United Arab Emirates on knowledge management and leadership. And we said, yeah, welcome. This is our dean, Professor Aidan Berry at the time. We collaborated with them, with London Metropolitan. We were very grateful. They even opened their doors for them. It was a great, fantastic collaboration. But 3 case studies we used in knowledge management for the police officers from United Arab Emirates. One of them is British and one of them is Jamaican. And I know Rudy is recording this, which would be good to spread this across the Jamaican academia. This paper, we know this paper for a long time. This is published in 2010. 2010, the Jamaican academics from University of West Indies, one of our big collaborators there, they published a research called Using Knowledge Management to Assist in the Transformation of the Jamaica Constabulary Forces. But if you read, and this is not a criticism or saying Jamaica is a dangerous country, no. At the time, 2008, the Jamaican academics, they wrote down, which is true from the United Nations. According to the United Nations report 2008, Jamaica is categorized among the most dangerous countries in the world today. Of course, everything changed. Jamaica is an attractive country now. People go for honeymoon. But the story is when the academics and the Jamaican have learned this country is very dangerous. Crimes are very high. Who is stopping crime, or who can be, whom do you need to support, to enable? You remember before I said the British government said, enable people to do things better. That's a British definition of knowledge management. The Jamaican use that definition as it is. They said, okay, what is the best way to enable the police officers in Jamaica to minimize these crimes? And the answer was use knowledge management. And they use knowledge management, and it helped the country. This paper is published. You can see it here. 2010, long time ago, is in a proceeding. I'm happy to share with you, Rudy, and you can share it with anyone in Jamaica.
Yes.
Then that case study became an iconic paper we use when we train people as experts on knowledge management, particularly the police force. We will say to them, if you use knowledge management, you're likely to improve, and this is a good case study from Jamaica. So the whole world, through us, learned about good practice in Jamaica to United Arab Emirates. Yes, this is
so Professor Ahmed, so maybe this is a good point for us then to consider the first question we're in Jamaica, and the question is, what role do academic researchers play in fostering systemic collaboration between local communities and global institutions to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals? So what we're really asking there is that link between the academics, and you've touched on it there, providing some clarity and definition, but also that knowledge going down into the neighborhoods and the communities where the sustainable development has to take place. So that link between academic and community health researchers and being able to identify the program of activities. And you touched on as well, knowledge, of course. And of course, with that, we have traditional knowledge as well, which of course is important for neighborhood and community development. And that's what makes this model, the Llandewey model, very interesting, because with the Llandewey St. Thomas model, there is this focus on traditional knowledge. And just to say broadly what it is, traditional knowledge, know-how, skills and practices that are developed, sustained and passed on from generation within a community, from generation to generation, from within a community, forming part of its cultural or spiritual identity. So that's about, obviously, community renewal and transformation. And what the members of that community have done is that they set up a steering group. It has two principal bodies. There's what we call a 4Rs Youth and Sports Club, and it stands for reasoning, responsibility, respect and rights. There's also a 4Rs Community Forum as well. So again, in the context of achieving the sustainable development, the focus is also around self-effort economic development. So we put that word sustainable there as well, because again, it's making best use of the existing local resources, the residents, the families, and of course, in the Caribbean, the families extend particularly to the UK, USA, and Canada. So the steering group then has had the benefit of the knowledge, skills, and networks of those who preside in the UK, USA, and Canada, and that knowledge has gone back into the community, into the neighborhood, as part of the, first of all, looking back at the cultural heritage, bringing back vital information from 3 and 4 and 5 generations ago, and then focusing on the cultural heritage of the area, involved in the cultural restoration of valuable cultural heritage products, such as what's called the Judgment Cliff, which is a mountain. There's also a village hall that was inaugurated on the 1st of August 1941. That's 83 years ago, by the former Premier of Jamaica, Norman Manley. So the steering group has brought all these things together, all these areas together, and through the steering group have been able to help mobilize community mobilization. You've also got the program of activities involving the young people and that intergenerational learning and sharing. So I'm just going to ask, just before I come back to you, Femi Bogle, as you're there, to just quickly, just as a member of the group, just give your perspective on that knowledge exchange, that knowledge management part that Professor just highlighted. If you can unmute.
Am I now unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Good afternoon, Professor Rudy, and to other members of the group. I mean, I think what is important and what is critical, certainly from my perspective, as a person who comes out of the Llandewey community and who's living abroad and who has lived abroad in England for all of my formative years, a graduate of the University of London, and now in the United States, it is important for me and for those of us in the diaspora throughout Canada, the United Kingdom, to become a force field, if you will, around the community as our extended families on the ground back home work to rebuild the community in a way such that they do not feel as though they have been abandoned, because generally that's been the problem. Those of our family members who've been left behind feel very, very abandoned. And the villages and communities have kind of been left to be barren almost. And so for me and cousins of mine and other family members who live abroad in the metropolis, if you will, we are focused on making sure that we not only become a part of the local infrastructure by having ourselves elected to the various organizations and managing groups within the, let's say, my village of Llandewey, but also contributing financially and doing so without it merely being remittances, but really trying to convey our knowledge of how to monetize cultural skills, for example, locally, from artists to those persons who have medicinal knowledge, from things like the honey production, beekeepers that used to be a huge part of the community, artists, people who are using local debris, if you will, bottles and plastics and so on, to engage in sculptural work, and bringing our children back together in the community center, which we're focusing on rebuilding and also expanding. We also have in our local community a river, and communities come together around rivers, and rivers are is a critical piece of community organization and development. So we have a local river, and we're looking at how we can utilize the knowledge of the people who've been left back there to make sure that something like ecotourism, for example, is developed in a way that will sustain the actual environment itself, and also developed in a way that will place value on our agriculture, because it's a community used to be a very small sustainable farmers, but the agriculture is important because many of our fruits and vegetables and so on simply grow. You don't even have to necessarily take care of them. So our goal as people living in the diaspora, coming out of that community, is to really put that force field around them and hold together to make sure that the vision for developing and re-energizing that local village, the local community, and the contiguous towns around is maintained and sustained. I'll leave it at that, and I can see that my cousin's also online. She may want to talk about building and what she was getting ready to do.
Okay, just before we come to that, there's a key point, Professor, I'd like you just just to give us a response on. So when you look at the fact that there is a steering group, and as mentioned, there are two principal bodies on which the knowledge is transferred through the community forum, which has an all voices must be heard approach, and also the youth and sports club for the young people. But it says it is youth and sports, but it's about values as well. It's called the 4 R's: respect, reasoning, rights, and responsibilities, which you touched on that as well in terms of the importance of bringing that down to young people. So just quickly before we come to one of the other steering group members, is that what for you then would be the key metrics or indicators that you would use to measure for that kind of collaborative effort as an academic? Because for somebody like myself and what we're describing, we're already doing the implementation. The community mobilization's gone through, the program implementation has been there, the relationships built on traditional knowledge. So what we're thinking about now with the Llandewey St. Thomas Jamaica model is the recognition of that knowledge transfer and the knowledge, and as Femi has described, the knowledge management that actually takes place. And all of this is based on a set of values. So what we say, the values are around respect and inclusion as a common ground for all, regardless of background, culture, status, or location. So it's that inclusive approach. So what we're thinking about then is the measurement of that, because that can translate into value, of course.
Okay. Now, there's two issues or two terminologies here, very important. One of them is knowledge transfer, and one of them is knowledge management. The knowledge transfer, which you ask, there's a measurement we use, yes. This measurement simply saying that we can only confirm or we can only be assured knowledge or technology. Sometimes books, they use both of them, technology or knowledge is being transferred if we can have an indicator or evidence that the knowledge has physically moved from A to B. Let's assume A is London and B is that local village or a small town or whatever it is, or say Jamaica, for example.
Okay.
But it's not about the physical movement, it's about the knowledge or the technology after it reaches the destination, it then is spread. That means we make sure it can spread among the community members, and then it make a difference or change their lives.
Yeah.
Because if the knowledge is, imagine I come to Jamaica, I have my books, my model, everything, but it stay there at the university. That doesn't mean it is being spread. So that's where people, they call it diffusion. So we can measure the transfer if we can have evidence diffusion had taken place.
Yeah.
That's number two. And number three, then the people with whom we diffuse this knowledge, they have things happen in their life. It changed their life. For example, if they used to earn £5 per month, for example, and now we have evidence they are earning £10 or £15 per hour or per month or per week because they learn new skills, or they use their traditional skills to be more, if you like, in a situation where it can be used much better for tourism, attracting more people, whatever it is, or they are able now to save more on energy or save on their food or maybe become more healthier. They should be an indicator where we will say, this is because of the knowledge we transferred, we spread it in the community. And most textbooks, they tell you this, knowledge cannot be transferred, or we cannot guarantee the transfer of a knowledge unless it is spread in the community, which means diffusion. That's why we need to avoid confusion between knowledge transfer and knowledge diffusion. Diffusion will happen after the transfer, but the diffusion is part of the transfer definition. If there is no diffusion, it doesn't transfer. So that's how we measure it. But as for the second part, the management of the knowledge, there is frameworks. I'm quite happy, Rudy, when I see you, I hope sooner rather than later in the office, I can give you the framework we built for knowledge management, and we can also help. I'm really proposing this, and I'm committing to this. We can help whoever you have in your committee or back in Jamaica, how to implement that model to manage the traditional and indigenous. We call it indigenous knowledge. And this is, the book is very important, is really important. And that framework, it has its all indicators and everything. It doesn't need a senior academic or someone with academic background and knowledge. We can easily work with students from universities local there to understand the model, and then they can implement it. And I'm very happy. We will follow up with you, definitely.
Right. Thanks for that. And some of what you're describing there as well, if we think in terms of the creative economy.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And we take that approach, particularly where traditional knowledge is concerned. So that's, you know, ideas, and that translating ideas into economic value.
Yes.
And still, why the importance of the knowledge transfer and management that you speak about and the diffusion is that we have to think about the institutions that neighborhoods and local communities face, the traditional government systems. So it's going to be how this knowledge and the ability to influence those bodies so that you get that economic transfer, which is the challenge, i.e. the financing of cooperatives, micro, small enterprises, which of course are neighborhoods and family businesses, but primarily are made up of, you know, small enterprises.
Yes, absolutely. And the important thing is, with all the knowledge and the technology and the applications we have the pleasure of having here or in the US, I have met a lot of Jamaican, not here, in Canada, in America, there's a lot of them. With all that privilege we all have as diaspora, like I really like what Femi said, we need to consider financially investing our whatever small amount of donation or money we can raise to see what are the enabling technologies or application, whatever it is, that we can transfer to the local town or village, which we know from our expertise here, not necessarily Jamaican or whatever outside Jamaica, is having a lot of promises to change the lives of those people. And here I give you one example, Egypt. Egypt is a phenomenal example of how, with local policies, they managed to make the country very attractive for call centers. And now you, Rudy, you can try this if you don't know it, if you're having your Vodafone. If you call in the UK during the day, having any issues with Vodafone, the person who will reply you is someone, a girl or a boy from Egypt. Just look to the amount of income and the jobs you created for young Egyptian boys and girls. But that didn't come easy. It came by the government policy and so on. In the case of Jamaica now, or this small project, what I mean by small is maybe, I don't know how is the scale of the project, but let's assume it's a small project. The people involved in this, they can sink down and find out exactly what people in the local community they want based on their understanding of their own challenges that will help them to change their lives, whether in terms of health and so on. And I have one of the slides here. If we find time, I might show you. The person who invented the, what is it? I can't remember, what is it? You know, what is the application?
And just to say, Alan, is that, remember, this steering group has two principal bodies for those voices to be heard. So at this point, we've been talking about very much the community forum. So through that community forum, you hear, you know, the aspirations, the ideas from the communities. It's designed for that. So that's the 4 R's: the respect, the reasoning, the rights, the responsibilities. And there's one, we'll be talking about youth in a moment, relating to youth and sports. So let me go to, we're staying at the community forum level now then, in terms of that sustainable self-effort economic development through cooperatives,
Yes.
micro, small enterprises, the creative economy, agriculture, traditional knowledge, and the broader cultural tourism. So let me go to Jennifer Edwards. Are you there? So Jennifer Edwards is also a member of the steering group. Okay, I'll come back to Jennifer then. Clive Morrison. Clive, are you able to unmute? And Clive actually is the initiator of this whole of this program. So Clive, let's go to you and see if we can get Jennifer back.
Yes, good evening, Professor Alam and members of the panel. Yeah, I'm really excited in hearing the presentation so far. And myself, I've been in the UK for 54 years, and I have revisited, as well as my other colleagues, and on revisiting our local community, we have seen, to a certain extent, the transformation from what it was in the past to where it is now. And I think it's because of the ownership of that, and having gained some insight of what, as we've been coining here, knowledge as to how systems operate in the West, and those which is associated locally within our community. You could see the disparity and the disadvantage it forms for locals, particularly when we who have traveled, a lot of us burn our bridges. But yeah, we are indeed excited to be able to, through the 4 Rs, as well as the youth forum, to be able to put back into our community, given that we know that there are natural resources available to us. The example with the agriculture, a lot of that was started initially within St. Thomas. The ecotourism, which the river offers, and again, we're fortunate to have the bees, as Femi had mentioned. Now, to make that transition, it means obviously we are open to reasoning with locals as well as businesses, and to be able to take ourselves forward. I've often said it, we're fortunate, obviously, that we've got a Broody Page who has dedicated his time towards, and again, he's seen the potential, having visited our community. So I'm open to the changes. I mean, my experience here, I mean, I've been into local politics and I've sit on regeneration. So that's another R, which is somewhat missing. But this is exactly what it is that we're trying to do. So I'm naturally excited as to the challenges. And I think for us who are in the diaspora, we feel somewhat duty bound to be able to capitalize and to see our community flourish to the point where it was like a little town before. Yeah, so we are excited. So I will continue to, and I will look at the documents closer and to see as to how we can pass this knowledge on to our local community, particularly our young people, so they can make that transition. Because a lot of the things which we had gained traditionally, particularly like farming, these are things that would have been passed on. It wouldn't necessarily have gone to college, but we're living in a world now where most knowledge is gained from institutions. And I think locally we might not understand the institutions and their functionality, but at the same time, given that we who are in the diaspora have this knowledge, then it's for us to be able to understand it so that it will have monetary benefits that will benefit us locally. So yeah, I'd like to thank you and continue to listen on further.
Yeah, thanks for that, Clive. And of course, with the which we did start to touch on, with traditional knowledge and indigenous knowledge, there's that generational learning. There's still many people around who can pass on that knowledge to the younger generations. Right, Alan, Professor Alan, we're going to move over to talking about young people next for the moment, because you touched on young people and their responsibility.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to bring in Dean Roden from the US, who's done a lot of work as it relates to young people, to say a few words. And he's part of this through his organization. And I would say as well, across Jamaica, there's actually 775 communities that make up Jamaica. So, and in some of the work that we're doing, we probably cover overall with all our projects, probably about 25, 30 communities. But the actual model that we want to be shared and most importantly, measured and described with academic clarity and definition, because the implementation is already taking place, is the Llandewey St. Thomas model. So Dean, welcome to this platform. Can you unmute?
Dr. Allen, Rudy Page, thank you very much for having me on this platform. It's an honor. All protocol observed, my Professor Bogle. It's exactly what we're doing with our young people, with the transformation and the collaboration. My foundation, Let's Talk Under the Reggae Tree, it's all about creating a pathway to opportunity. And the objective of this is to serve as a global platform for youth development, engaging young people on an online space that promote cultural interaction, collaboration, and communication, and meaningful connection. And we aim to inspire the young mind by offering them mentorship and support us, community development for a brighter future. And as you can see, reason for this, we discover that young people, they need somewhere to go, and they need something to do. And most of all, they need someone to show them how. And that's why we create that platform. And what Mr. Page has been doing is making connection. And what I've seen, it's such an honor to be on this platform, because I was in an early meeting today, and we're going to be using St. Thomas as a model to start a STEM program. And the person was talking about agriculture. And as Mr. Clive said, St. Thomas is an agricultural thing, and we have to see how well we can advance of the young people moving with the change of technology. The farmers, 10 years ago is a different set of people now. So we have to make farming in the technology, stepping up in the change with technology. How can the STEM or the AI work with our young people in their farming facilities? So this really highlight me, and we are doing it on the collaborative effort with all the groups across the board. And once again, Mr. Page, I thank you for having me on this platform.
Thank you. So before I come to you, Professor, again, if you think about what we're really saying now, is if you think of what we would call the system lines of communication, assurance, the accountability in the neighborhoods, those systems have changed. We can use the technology to accelerate the development and economic value that's in the neighborhoods and in the communities through families, using technology, as you said, the knowledge management, the knowledge transfer, the various clusters that make up, the local economy where there's a comparative advantage. So we need to know, well, where are the academics and where is the academic pathway?
Couple of things. I can just mention them quickly, but that's a very interesting point, which is Dale mentioned. Now, there are, in my opinion, 6 or 7 points need to be understood by us, the adults, or not the young generations, that about this young generation. The first one, they, as I said earlier, they start using the mobile phone. In my opinion, mobile phone is becoming critical in everyone's lives. But more critical than the mobile phone itself is the internet.
Yeah.
This generation, they lived in the internet. Internet, you got everything. Even if I want to find a direction for a meeting, if my daughter is next to me, I will say to her, how do I get from Vauxhall or Victoria to this place? Even if you see your kids in the house, the way they touch these buttons is definitely not like you. Very quick, very fast, very snappy. So this generation, we need to understand, they have a capacity to produce much bigger than us. Yeah. That's number one. Much bigger. And I believe in this strongly. And I have tested them. The last test we did, and you can see videos, all of it. The United Nations conference, we gave 5 of the young students, year one. Year one here is like 19 years old. From Queen Mary, from Bath University, from Imperial, and one from, I can't remember the 5th one, 6th one from where. We gave them the opportunity to stand or to sit down on the chair as a rapporteur with the moderator. Normally in academic conferences, oh, this needs, the moderator will be a big professor, blah, 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 blah. He knows the subject. But actually, you don't need to know the subject in order to moderate a session. Those people, if you see these 5, I think there were 2 girls, 3 boys. If you see them on video, you can't believe how relaxed they were. They know how to take notes. They take it very quickly than us. What surprised all of us when we asked them to make a short note about what the session is about. Fantastic, because they learn about it. They know how to do it. They blah, 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 they did it. So we need to understand the capacity of those young generations in Jamaica or in these local villages is much bigger than we know or we think. Number 2, they are already ready to be switched on this internet age. So that means if you enable them by laptops, by computer, by even getting a generator in a room, in a small local village, they can produce, we can't. Number 3, the world is changing now. And the example I'm going to give you now, most of these ideas came from young people. Like look to Uber. Uber is I think it's 2 couples in France. They wanted to have something. Then they came with this idea of the Uber, and then Uber become a phenomenon now. Look to the, Airbnb. The guy thought of an idea, you can rent your house. Then if you read the story about that Airbnb, I have one of the slides here. He went and rented a place to see how you can actually go and live in Rudy's house as a guest paying money. So in order to understand it, he went there. So if you look at all the young generations, why the idea generation in their minds is different than us? Because they are exposed. They are exposed to many things. And I asked my daughter last 2 weeks, I said to her, what is going on in London with this, what's her name, the lady, what's her name, Swift, what's her name, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
I've never seen this. I went to big concert before, Celine Dion, all these big names. They never made that fuss in London like this. I've never seen in my 30-something years in London something like this. Even Michael Jackson didn't make it like this lady. One of my daughters said to me, I said to her, what exactly? So why God, people are just mad about her? One of them said, relatability. Relatability, she said, she relate to me. And I said, what does that mean? So the way they see her, she talk about them. She express them, the way she dress, the way she chat, snappy. This is key words. Those young generations, they know whom to relate to, and they know who they relate to their mind, and so on and so forth. So we really need to rethink our understanding as a community of those young generations. Not like my age. My age, no, we didn't have anything to say. We don't even know what's going on in the world. There's one TV channel, you watch it, that's it. Now they don't have option. Now Number 4 or 5, these things we talked about, like this one, this is from the IBCC, the slide in front of you. Learning the lessons is a bulletin about how you share knowledge, put the knowledge together. It sounds very big, police in London, blah, 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 the UK, this is a government, complicated, professors. No, I can easily explain this bulletin to 3 or 2 of the young generations in that community. You just align them to me and I can talk to them. And then I can tell them how to make this knowledge bulletin in your local village, which will help the people like Rudy and all of you in the US and others. Very easy, because they have the mental set to write down notes, to make this thing. They use this screen very fast. So that's what I'm trying to say. The one last point about this young generation, in my opinion, I may be wrong. I haven't worked with Jamaican young generations. I did work with many couple of African, Arab, and so on, but really not Jamaicans. I think they are the same. I met a big group. We work with them in Bahrain. I also met some in Namibia. I think they're all the same. I would expect the Jamaican the same. What they are the same is, number one, politically, they are much less distracted than us. Now you are conservative or labor, you will continue your life like this. These young generations, they are not. I can see them in the university. The way they see politics, which is a killer in our society sometimes, really different, number one. Number two, their approach to religious, Muslim, non-Muslim, Christian, blah, blah, is different. Those people are much better than us. If you can look to the young generations, the majority of them, they are very neutral. If they have view, they can express it to you, not like the old generation. So you need to take advantage of all these things. They are not polarized this way or the, even if you talk to them scientifically and you convince them, they can respect you, they will go with you and they will do blah, 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 blah. So I think these are all things need to be, and this is where the academics, people expert in social science, people expert on children's psychiatry and psychology, they are. Dr. Amani is one of the top, say, in Wales. These people, when you talk to them about your daughter or son or young, the way they answer you is not like the way I know it. She's a father, she's a mother, yes, but she knows what is a child psychology, how young people they think, particularly with these things. So I would suggest, or I would say, within the community or your steering committee, try to identify people who have expertise scientifically in understanding and reconnecting the old with the young, and they are available. Not necessarily we're helping them to avoid crime. I mean, many of the things I can see them in London, how we bring them. But the point mentioned earlier about they want something to do. Yes, I agree 100%. But what they want to do is much bigger than we think. These people are very, very, very smart, really, really smart. Young generations, really smart. So we need to treat them in that perspective.
Thank you for that. In fact, and I'm sure Clive will agree that we will add another R, relatability. So
yes,
we call the 5 R's forum, because you're so right, that relatability. And
that's the big word in London about most of the people. If you read the news, these boys and girls run away to see this lady because of reliability. Exactly. How it relate to them. So you, I, and all of us, we need to relate.
Yeah. Because it also raises a question around trust. And if there's trust, you've got a better chance of collaboration, and then creativity and, working together, all those things. So yeah, that's excellent. Right. So Professor, is there anyone from your group who may have a perspective on what they've heard?
What is that?
Yeah, I'd like to say there, obviously, that I concur with what Rudy had said, and I appreciate what you had mentioned there in regards to the youth. I myself have fostered. I've fostered for some 15 years. And for that reason, I have that, it would appear to be a special relationship with our young people. And that's why, again, with Rudy, we came up with this 4R, because we realize that civic pride is very important. I think we in this generation, particularly us who are on this platform who are representing from the diaspora, we grew up having manners and respect. So we had that sense of belonging, which is somewhat wanting at this present time. And one of the things that we see ourselves affording the wider world is a village, because we are indeed a village, and it says it takes a village to raise a child. So we want to be that good model where we've got good examples. And the thing that I was doing in regards to the fostering, I always envisage taking these kids back to Jamaica into a community so they could see where it is that they are coming from and that they can relate to how community bond, which in so saying, it makes me somewhat concerned at times insofar as when we talk about community, because having lived in the West for what, the 54 years.
You and I wouldn't be able to.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting a feedback.
Yeah,
there.
no, go ahead, Clive, then we'll come to Jennifer.
Sorry, I haven't lived there for that 54-year period. I've seen how society has changed both here as well as in the West Indies. But yeah, the young people, they're the future, and obviously they are so adaptable. The computer or the phone, as you mentioned, and I think we, as we age or mature, whichever way we want to put it, we are not quick to make mistakes, whereas our children, they just, because of want of experience, they'll just do these things without considering the consequences. But I think that is something somewhat ingrained in them. Yeah, so I welcome us working in any way moving forward, and particularly with our young people, that we can learn a lot from them. And all it is that we have that they haven't got is the knowledge of the past. So the two of them kind of counterbalance each other. And I think as we become elder, we get wiser to that situation, that yeah, we need to allow them that opportunity, but to be able to remind them of some dangers. And I'm again saying that because I worked with, remand and challenging teenagers. And I had the confidence in myself, having grown up in a village community, to say you can do what you want as long as you take responsibility for your action. And that then triggers them having to think about what it is that they're going to do before they do it.
Okay.
You know? So yeah, I really welcome that.
So Jennifer, I'd like to hear from you. So Jennifer's a member of the steering group as well. Okay, we're not getting Jennifer. Doesn't look like it. Okay, until we can get Jennifer. So, Professor Allen, I was asking whether there was anyone on from your network who are online now who may be able to relate some of the issues that we've been discussing with their neighborhoods and their local communities and the development of young people.
Well, that's an interesting question. Yes, maybe you can open it for the floor. Yeah, I can see that.
So we're opening it up. So
Okay.
if you'd like to put your hand up, if you, from the wider Professor Allen's network.
I think I got someone who is working with them in India.
Yeah.
I don't know, Abdul Salam Muhammad, because I remember last 2 weeks I was attending a meeting. They're working with young. I don't know if anyone, I don't know, but it's anyone. I just noticed.
Yeah.
I'm there, and I was listening to the complete session, and I was very eager to know that Jamaica is taking great steps. We only know about Jamaica through the sports, Jamaican, players.
And reggae.
Records, Yeah,
Don't forget reggae. Don't forget reggae. And Bob Marley.
So
Everywhere
my
on the
comment
globe.
on the youth, we have a very good team very, after we attended the last conference in the Geneva, now that has given a good boost to our people back in India. And many schools are coming forward, taking up the volunteerships in the SDG implementation. Recently, we have introduced, that is with the support of these people in the West, training around 2,500 people on students, school students, management, and we got very good acceptance, and that they're moving in a very good direction. So creative engagement is a must for the youth.
Yeah.
It's a message I just want to convey. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And you're right. You're so right. That creative engagement goes along with relatability, doesn't it? And Professor, we used to talk about the 21st century learning and skills.
Yes.
Collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking as it relates to young people, and what are the learning outcomes from our engagement or their involvement. Our engagement, we have to engage, build a relationship, but we want them to be involved as part of their local communities, and that really touches on Clive's point in terms of civic pride, and and feeling that they're a valuable member of the community as well. And most importantly, that their voice is heard. Right.
Yes.
I think we've got Jennifer. So what we're going to do, give Jennifer an opportunity, go to Dean, and then go back to you, Professor Alam, to close the meeting with your final thoughts, overall thoughts. So Jennifer, are you there? Right. Okay. Let's go to Nala. Nala, you got your hand up. Then I'll come to you, Dean, as Nala hasn't spoken yet. Nala, would you like to go ahead?
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Alam, and all the presenters with you, the colleagues, for nice info about knowledge transfer. My concern as the achieving goal of sustainable development by 2030 as the initial plan before. Now, during the 10 years, there is a huge change happened. Climate change, some disaster due to the war in the country, some outbreaks of what's going up now in academia. Is the artificial intelligence is going to help in the knowledge, or is it the knowledge? Thank you.
Right. Professor Alan, I don't know if you caught that from Nala. We lost the line slightly. I don't know.
I think that the question she raised, which is very interesting about the AI, what's the AI? This is something I don't want to raise an alarm for all the generation like me, but the main thing people need to really realize, I know this is start to show up in the public domain now. Young generation are fast learners. They learn very quickly. And now they are enabled because they use a mobile phone much quicker and better than us. It's so easy to teach people artificial intelligence. Many people, they think it's difficult. It's not difficult. Now universities, like just take the example of East London where we used to meet Rudy. They have a course where they teach artificial intelligence for anyone with any background. You're coming from medical science, because artificial intelligence doesn't need a specific background in terms of computing or whatever it is. Now imagine those young kids start to learn artificial intelligence. They will wipe all of us quickly because they learn quickly, and it is related to all AI is about prediction. You want to predict what will happen, These guys are very smart. If they learn it quickly, they might control companies will employ them. I know the legal age is 16 in the UK, but if you have your daughter or son who is smart, you might ask him to help you, Rudy. So really, this is a good question. If we don't catch up quickly, because if you see in the government here, Rishi Sunak, before he left, one of the things he did, I think is good. He only gave scholarship, the government, of course, it is his government at that time. The only scholarship they allowed is for women to study, particularly women from ethnic minorities. They said because they know the future is artificial intelligence, and the large number of people who are being not really finding jobs are women from Black and ethnic minority. So they gave them the opportunity to go to universities with a scholarship. Why? Because they know this is what is going to happen in the next few years. If kids now, they start to turn into that side, and I know for sure, I went to my daughter, I think year 8, to the Parents' Day in London, and I remember in the ICT classes, the guy was talking about if she comes here next year, blah, 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 they will do AI. And sooner it will become maybe year 6 or year 7, they teach them AI. So that's a very good point. I know Dr. Abdul Salam from India, even his organization called the Knowledge City. So we need to support them. If in my opinion, if you ask me, what can you do to those kids in Jamaica, I will say, do it. Because in Tunisia, one of the leading countries in the Arab countries in AI is Tunisia. All universities in Tunisia, they've been teaching AI, data science. And I know a company, a startup Tunisian company, they took a project here from the UK government for 1.5 million pounds. Just imagine a small company, a startup in Tunisia, taking a 1.5 project from the British government. Imagine the huge transformation this will do to those Tunisian. Very smart guys. Why not? Jamaica will be the same. These young generations could easily take projects. Imagine a small group of, and with the support of people like you in the diaspora and those in the US, they could fund a small initiative of AI company with expert on AI, but they train people in there to take the job. They might end up having lots of contracts.
Exactly. That's such a great idea. Right. So Jennifer, let's
Yes.
Oh, finally.
I apologize. Professor Ahmed, I'm so sorry. My internet went out. But I heard what you said, and I love what you have to say. I am from Llandewey, Jamaica. I grew up in London, England, and now I live in the United States. I am in the health field in the United States, and I am in contact with a lot of people from the Caribbean. So, I go back, I visit different Caribbean islands. I personally was born in Jamaica. My grandfather was a farmer. My grandfather left us a lot of land down there that needs to be developed. All of my generations above me, my mother, my uncles, they're all gone. So I'm the next generation. And what I'm trying to do is to bring the younger generations in and so that we can bring it up and move up. But the community, it's been dormant for a while. Everything, people are just very despondent down there. I would love to be able to go back, focus on education, as you say, the young children, bring them up with us in the community, help show them how to respect others and respect themselves. And so that's what I would like to do. I heard what you had to say, and I really love what you're doing. And, this is something that we would like to do in the Llandewey community, and let this be an example for the, rest of other communities to come.
Thank you very much for that, Jennifer. Dean, quick point, then we go back to Professor for his final thoughts.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much, Mr. Page. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself, my background. I was born in Jamaica, and I've been representing Jamaica for over 40 years as a scout leader and a community consultant. And I just recently went back and we launched another branch of Let's Talk under the Reggae Tree. I had the privilege, the honor of used to feeding Bob Marley. The guy that used to cook for Bob Marley was living right next door where I used to live. So Bob Marley, so I sit in Bob Marley, in his footprint. So we launched a tree, that's where the office right next door to him. And the guy that used to cook for him, he said, yes, he's certified. And Professor, I would love you to be one of my guest speaker, because what we do, we allow the young people to tell us what they want to be when they grow up. So what some want to be, we don't choose for them. So we allow people, mentor like yourself, to come and tell them, what they, when those who want to be doctors, we have like real doctor to come and they question them to know what it was like when they were their age. So I'd really like you to be, we're offering this invitation for you to be one of my guest speaker whenever you get a privilege. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Dean. So Professor Alam, I'd like you to give your final thoughts, overview before we close this session. Thank you.
Dean, I'm honored, and it would be my pleasure. And I still remember when I went to St. Lucia, I travel all over the world, but that place, if I have the money tomorrow to go for my own holiday, I will go. In the morning when the breakfast, Bob Marley was singing we are near the beach, unbelievable. That place is #1 by no question. So you're having your breakfast in the hotel, which is along the beach, and the music is Bob Marley. It's fantastic, definitely. So these are the things I said to my friends from Caribbean. You should say this when you are promoting tourism. Try to get people to visualize what kind of restaurants you're going to have in the morning, what kind of music you will listen. You need to bring this very close to their mind. That will make a big difference. But people might travel for holiday. So, but quickly of the time, I will share again to finish my talk. Where is I just wanted to, where is it? Quickly, because the question Rudy asked me is acceleration of the UN. Can you see my slide now?
Yeah, we can see it. Accelerate implementation.
Excellent. Now, the UN asking all of us to help accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda, because they know it is not happening, unfortunately. It's not my sad news to you, but this is what is happening. Now, quickly, this is a UN chart. You can see the green is what we have likely to be achieved, the green, which is on track, and the yellow is fair progress, but acceleration needed, and the red is unfortunately no good progress. And then the serious one, I have been campaigning for all my entire academic life for this last gray color, insufficient data. No one can treat you without data. Now, one key issue I want to say here, you cannot enforce sustainable development policy and approaches by the government. The government cannot. The government is a government. Yeah, they can make rules, don't cross the red signal, blah, blah, blah. But sustainable development, it has to be seen as holistic. Holistic means I have a role in my household. My daughters will see me doing things, how much water I use in my shower. I am not spending half an hour showering there, so they will start to learn something. So it cannot, unfortunately, be enforced by the government. The critical issues, I want academia in Jamaica and others, and I know lots of academics from Jamaica, first-class academics, to look into how to help Jamaica as all, but your project in particular, for example, because the UN is saying clearly, we don't have enough data, guys. UN is the UN. Jamaica is member of the UN. Britain is member of the UN. What is the UN? The UN is Jamaica. It's Sudan, it's America, everyone. This is the UN. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important targets for the Sustainable Development Goals, target number 4.7, education for sustainable development and global citizen. What does that mean simply? I want that child in Jamaica or in Sudan or in America or everywhere to learn to become educated or to be educated to understand what he or she has to do, what he or she has to behave to make sure he can reserve this planet good for him. And more importantly, to be a global citizen. What does that mean? In the UK, I don't know if everyone in the UK knows this or not. In the UK, like in Lambeth Council, where I live, I think all the council in London and everywhere. But anyway, it's a penalty. If you throw rubbish on the street and the people from the council see you in the UK, they have the right to charge you. Why are you throwing this? And you get a penalty, £50 or something. You need people to learn to become global citizens. I am not throwing plastic bag or rubbish on the street of Great Britain because there is a law or because this is Great Britain. I want that behavior to be my daughter's behavior when she goes to Emirates, when she goes to Sudan, when she goes to Jamaica. So if I go to Jamaica and no one is going to charge me, that doesn't mean I should not throw the plastic bag. So this is too critical. The UN in their own report saying the United Nations currently not aware of data for this indicator. And I said to all academics across the world, help your country first before you help the United Nations. You need to help your house, feed your kids first before you feed others. That's the general rule worldwide. And they said to me, Alam, what do we do? You need to help your country completing any missing data. And if the UN is saying, oh, we don't know what data we should collect for this indicator, sit down in your library, sit down in your groups, try to come with new ideas. When you ask me, oh, can you suggest for me a good research project? I would say, find the research problem in your own country. Yeah. So that's my second point. There are lots of things academics can do to help their own countries and communities. This is the UN, you can see. All the green is where we have measurement to measure. Yellow, we don't have data enough. Red, we don't have data. This is the UN, our well-leading data from Oxford University. Can you just look to the amount of red colors? So in Jamaica, academics help that small project by helping the whole country try to find in health, is Jamaica able to provide all the data in health? And I can tell you, I have been in the Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia, one of the leading big countries, very keen to transform and move it. They have issues with the data, with health. Every country is struggling. So that's number 3. Now, number 4, critical. This is the report by World Bank, United Nations Development Programme, UNESCO, INSEAD, Global Innovation Index, WHO. All of them are saying the following. Data is not available for every country. So my message again for Jamaica, go and look to all this report and find out if there is data enough about Jamaica in the World Bank, UNDP report, UNESCO Statistical Yearbook, Global Innovation Index, World Health Report, and so on. And as the guru and the father of data science is always, this is everyone in data science will use this slide. Without data, you are just another person with an opinion. Unfortunately, this is the godfather of data science is saying that. We need to help our countries in Jamaica or communities in this small project. And when I refer to small, that doesn't mean small in what you can do, but I think it is a small project in covering, or let's say it's a big project. I think that the academics, not necessarily Jamaican, but any academic can help this project by helping you to understand the importance of what we call it Carta. Carta is complete, accurate, relevant, timeliness, and appropriate data. So one like me, I've never been to Jamaica. I could easily help any people you find them for me in this project, and I will tell them what is Carta and what they can do in their local setting. Critical, very important. The more Carta the data, the higher is the quality. We need to find the data missing, we need to complete it, and then the quality. Number 4 or 5, this is how we view sustainable development. Economic growth, every country wants to grow. We need to poverty reduction, human needs, blah, blah, blah. We have individual, we have household, we have the community. The community is a part, the same like household, the same like individual and so on. But in the heart of this, and it took us many years, now the whole world is convinced, in the heart of all this is education. And education, we are not referring to universities, we are referring to primary education. Education is the center of this process. The more you educate your people, the more or the high likely you can achieve everything else. Governments will be better informed, companies will be better informed, NGOs and so on. Education in the last 10 years or so, there are 2 words associated with education. One of them is knowledge and one of them is innovation. And again, with innovation, we have invention, but that's not the time to discuss all this. But I really encourage you to put the center, the cornerstone of whatever you're doing in this project in Jamaica, education, because it's solved scientifically, is proven. Education is in the heart of everything. And I remember this, 1999, 25 years, we were in Pakistan, invited by the University of Karachi, and we were coming back from a dinner. And I remember one of our colleagues, he's originally from Bangladesh, from University of Strathclyde. And he was talking in his presentation in Karachi 25 years ago. He said, if a country like Great Britain, where education is compulsory, you can't have your child sitting in the house, you will be charged. You will go to prison in some countries if you don't take your child to the school. It keeps saying education, education, education. What about countries like Pakistan, like many other countries where many thousands, maybe millions out of your school? And I remember I said this in 2019 in Sudan, in front of the transition government. And I said to them, Sudan is really in the sharp edge now, because the Sudan is #1 in the Arab and Middle Eastern, in the Middle East and North African countries of the UNICEF, as #1 in the number of children out of school. A country with that number of kids out of school, it has no future. And you can just see now, one of the problems of what we are facing in Sudan is education. So I really encourage you to take this. What we did in the SDGs universities, I'm very happy, by the way, Rudy, to help and looking at even funding for universities in Jamaica or a project like you, so they can have a free subscription to this platform. I mean, I know, Rudy, we will meet sometimes in the office. I will see what we can do to help your project, or in the SDGs university in Jamaica. Universities in Jamaica and across the world, we are doing this in the UK, everywhere. They need to reconnect the curriculum with SDGs. Yeah. Every university now is doing that. In what we do, and I can now give you this invitation to you, all of you, Jennifer, Rudy, and Dean, all of you. Maybe we can organize with you guys one of this is very popular episode we do. I think, Rudy, you contributed to some of them, called Recent Development in Research and Teaching Towards the United Nations Sustainable Development. We can have a dedicated one all for Jamaica, and you can also help in selecting the speaker, and we can select the international. This is something we can, there's much we can do together. And maybe finally, community impact. This is what concerns me. Yeah. This is one of the famous slides. I'm nearly there, only one or two slides. We need to connect to understand the community. We need to understand what's going on in that community, what they like. And this is a very famous case study we do in marketing. When Brian wanted to do or to create this Airbnb, the idea is fantastic, but he wanted to test the idea. So what he said, let me go and stay in a flat of someone else and feel how I go to the bathroom, how I use the TV, how I use the internet. This is what we need. It's so critical. It's becoming successful business because he started with connecting with the customer. In our case here is a community. Very quick example of what universities, local universities in your place in Jamaica. This is the Vice Chancellor of the University of East London. When COVID came, the government, people from the UK, they know that in London, constructed the temporary hospital at the back of the Dockland campus at the University of East London. So let's see what the university did to help the community, because now there is something major for the country happening at the backyard of our block. So this is what she has done, and let's hear it.
I'm here at NHS Nightingale this morning, here to support our many staff and students who are making such an incredible contribution to this new hospital at the Excel Centre. Of course, observing appropriate social distancing measures. Our staff are training the trainers, our students, physiotherapy students, nursing students are actually putting together this remarkable hospital. I'm also here to listen very carefully to our NHS colleagues about what more the University of East London can do to support NHS Nightingale and indeed NHS trusts across London. We are providing accommodation for NHS key workers. We are providing equipment and facilities. Our incredible staff and students are supporting here on the ground. And we want to find out how much more we could do as a university. We're coming up to the Easter bank holiday weekend. And that weekend, I'm here at...
Now, final video from Indonesia, our other partner.
Indonesia is a vast country. The population has reached 264 billion, spread across 17,504 islands. They have every right to get health insurance. Universitas Airlangga Hospital, Alumni, and East Java Health Agency feel the calling to give people living in other islands access to healthcare services, to provide immediate assistance to disaster areas through the floating hospital, effort to support humanitarian aid. Across the ocean, reaching the outermost islands, the medical team of Ksatria Airlangga Floating Hospital is always there to serve humanity.
Now, the two examples I gave you, the Indonesian is really fantastic, the rector of the university, because in Indonesia is islands, and now we have a crisis. What he said to his medical faculties, you need to find a way to reach these people. And the only way to reach these people and treat them is to take a boat. So they built a hospital in the boat and they took it to the people. Yeah. In East London case, they took the youngest students who are 18, 19, they said to them, come from your houses, help that hospital. This is what I would expect where the local surrounding of that project, you really, I can see you, how not enthusiastic, I can see you very seriously want things to happen in that project in Jamaica. The local universities or academic institutions, they do have a responsibility. It's not a gift, it's not an offer, it's not a donation. This is a responsibility of a university to go and reach those people on those islands to treat them. The East London, at the back of your building, you have a new hospital for treating people with COVID. It's a rescue operation. What you do, open the doors, bring the students, bring the staff. This is what you expect universities to deliver as an obligation, a responsibility for those community. And finally, because in one of your questions, Rudy asked me about how do we measure the impact. Interestingly, Rudy, and I'm really Rudy, I like you always. Your mind is very open. This is how you get things happening. The question you asked, Rudy, is a critical question for higher education. What happened? All the time until 2000, Oxford is the best, Harvard, blah, blah, blah. Academically, they have done research and so on. We have been campaigning for many years. Universities should only be judged by the impact they make on the community. It took time, but I'm very glad it happened eventually. 2021, the first impact ranking. Now universities are ranked as how much they have done towards impact. You publish books like my books, so what? They stay in here. How this can help people to impact their life. And the proof of what we've been campaigning for many years. I was at Sussex University for 15 years. Sussex University used to be #1 in the entire world in the global ranking of teaching sustainable development. Now listen to this. I don't feel shy saying it. Sussex University is #1 for 15 years I've been there in teaching sustainable development. But on the ground, do they really make an impact apart from teaching students? 2021, when the Times Higher here published the ranking, Sussex University came to 24. To 24. Imagine, top teaching class university in that subject, they came 24. Who came #1? University of Manchester. And I would send the link to Rudy so this point can easily be illustrated. When the Vice Chancellor of Manchester University, she been asked, how did you make it to become #1 in the impact? What she did in her video, I will send it to you, Rudy. Imagine top of Oxford, Harvard, everything. #1 in the impact was Manchester. They said the 17 sustainable development, poverty, blah, 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 blah. It's not we taught them, we did them. Yes. We did. So the whole video is what we did in one, what we did in two. When it comes to equality and gender, they will tell you we have implemented an equality, blah, 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 at the university. So a cleaner or a worker, he will not be discriminated because of women. Women will not receive less. This is how people should understand. And I can assure you, Rudy and others, all universities now, they understand their role, and they are running quickly to try, how come I'm the best teacher, Oxford or Cambridge or whatever it is, I want to be in the ranking, because the ranking means community. And in the heart of that community is the student. Imagine the student, which you capture, you bring here, the students, the young generations, we talked about them, they know sustainability, they know green, they fight, they go to the street. You can see them in London, they're chaining themselves with their, even they do something they consider illegal sometimes. They understand, they want you to be sustainable. They want you to take care of the community. And that's, I think, the conclusion. These kids, they know this is a critical thing to do. And universities, they just need a push, Rudy. I hope, and I wish, I don't know the university is close to that project, but I hope they can support this project, because they are critical to support you guys in this project.
Thank you very much. And you did answer the final question, which was, how can the Llandewey St. Thomas Jamaica model serve as a blueprint for other neighborhoods and communities globally in accelerating progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030? Thank you very much, Professor Alam. And I look forward to seeing you again. And thank you very much for everyone who's joined us from around the world. And I particularly would like to mention from the St. Thomas Cultural Steering Group Community Forums, and also the Sports and Youth Forums. That's Clive Morrison, Femi Bogle, Jennifer Edwards, and our very close collaboration partner, Let's Talk Under the Regulatory, Dean Roden. And just before we go, and maybe this is a subject we'll touch on next time, Professor Alam, my colleague from another program I'm involved with called Battlefield for Our Mind, which is about mental health and well-being systems. So I have my colleague, Donald Campbell, and he particularly works with veterans, particularly Caribbean veterans as well. And so I'm just going to let Donald just to say a quick few words before we disappear. Donald, good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Rudy, and thank you very much for this unexpected chance to say a few words. I'm ex-military, and they teach you always to be ready for whatever eventuality. I didn't know I was going to be able to say something. So what a fantastic evening this has been. It's so much, so wide, so deep. And as somebody that was born in St. Thomas, Jamaica, it means a great deal. It's a fantastic program. Yes, as Rudy mentioned about my military background, we are looking at Battlefield of Our Mind, and deeply involved with various programs looking at the forgotten generations, but people who are suffering with mental post-traumatic stress disorder in so many different ways. I've just done a research with Chester University looking at veterans, not just Caribbeans or African, but also UK veterans, as to how we can better help people from that kind of background, because the suicide rate is very high. Yeah. So thank you very much, Rudy. Obviously, a lot more can be said, but I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, and good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. Nice to see you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.